big to be a phone, it's not big enough to be a laptop or whatever, it's never going to do anything. And I gave it to her, we got her some apps, and we said, you become the expert. And really, she did everything else, and she is absolutely the expert. So I want you to really listen for the next hour. She's going to teach you a ton about how you can use assistive technology for our school.
All right. I just need my presentation.
Just turn
Oh,
it.
good. My name is Nicole Weckherlin. I'm an occupational therapist, again, from St. Louis Children's Hospital, and I was lucky enough to work with Jan for 5 years in the CP Center. And yes, she's absolutely right. I think it's a coincidence, I don't know, that it was meant to be that the iPad came out 5 years ago when I started there, and since then it has been quite a bit of a roller coaster, but it's been a fun one. I have never been to Dallas, but the irony is this is like a little reunion because I see a lot of familiar faces and of course get to see Jan and Ruben, so I'm very, very excited to be here. I talk fast too, but I talk fast because I am really passionate and excited about this. I get all kind of geeky and techy, and which is ironic because I'm an OT, but I love this stuff, and I love it because I feel like it's really changed the game for a lot of our kiddos with CP, so I get very, very, almost a little emotional about it. So, what I want you to get out of this is quite a few things. I think we're all pretty, a show of hands, who has an eye something? There, okay, good. First and foremost, and I don't have a disclosure slide, I am not paid by Apple, I'm not. And I don't have any kickbacks, which I think they should, but I have a lot of people say, well, what about the Android devices? What about the Chromebooks? And I'm not saying that those aren't the ways to go. This is just what I know. I just know Apple has produced a product that has really been geared toward accessibility. That makes me excited. I think most of the apps that we are featuring are available on the iTunes store. There might be on the Google Play too. So I'm not trying to sway you in one direction or the other. I'm just telling you what I know. So what I want you to consider here while you're hanging out with me is that there's many implications for the iPad. Most of us know the iPad as a form of entertainment. It's so mainstream, it's so trendy, but that's why it's great, yes, as a reward, okay, as for entertainment, but it can go beyond that. Some therapists use it as more of a practice or remediation of skills. So maybe there's times when they're working on fine motor skills or visual perceptual skills, so they'll use it as a therapeutic tool. Some will use it for communication. There's some cases where it can actually be an augmentative communication device. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes kids need separate AugCom devices and then an iPad for productivity or for education. Sometimes it can be the one and all. But that's another good use for it. What I'm mainly going to talk about is what I love it most for is productivity. And meaning that I wanted them to use it in school, at home, to get their work done, to make them more independent, to make them more functional. That's the goal that I think just leveling that game for them out in the school environment. So some of the things we're going to go through is built-in features and apps for productivity. So there's a lot of hidden features in your iPad. No one ever tells you. Like the first thing you do when you get your iPad, it doesn't come with a manual. Because you have to go to iTunes or iBooks and download the manual, and then you know how to use it. Which if you don't know how to do that, how do you even figure it out? So you just kind of hope that you'll stumble on some of these tips and tricks. I think the iPad in general, the iPhone, iPod Touch, is probably used 25% of its max capacity on what's out there. So hopefully we'll help you with that. And there's a lot of just built-in apps that come with the iPad that you can use for productivity as well. I also want to help increase your knowledge about accessibility features that are in the iPad, as well as accessories. I have a whole bunch in here that I just want to at least, we might not get to being able to show it to you or anything, but at least kind of just put it on your radar. And then finally, available resources. What's out there? How do I find it? How do I get to it? How do I stay up front about these kind of things? So first and foremost, the iPad in school. So why do we want to use an iPad and why do we want to use it for school? For technology, we can participate in complete classroom and homework assignments. The bottom line and the main goal is we want to prevent those motor skills and that fatigue factor from interfering with their academic performance. We don't want them to be penalized because they don't have the motor control skills or they don't have the speed or the dexterity. We want them to be able to stay up with their peers. So I kind of throw this out, if you will. I'm going to get on my little tangents here, but when you're in kindergarten and you're in first grade, handwriting is a subject. There's time in that day, even though we're all pressed for curriculum standards and things, but there's time in those days where kids get to work on worksheets and they get to practice the letter A or the number 2 or things like that. Fast forward a couple years, now we're at like 3rd grade, 4th grade, we've got a lot on our plate. So for those kids that are still struggling with the motor component, how to maybe go top to bottom, how to go left to right, how to stay on the lines, all those kind of visual motor things, now you've added create an answer, create content, capitalize, punctuation, grammar, all that kind of stuff, and they're still thinking about the motor part. So 3rd grade is kind of where we see things start to kind of level off and the gap widens and we see those struggles at school really start to surface. So having said that, we say, let's do technology. Let's give them another avenue to get through this. But I advocate for early keyboarding and typing skills because when you want to transition to something like that, let's say in 3rd or 4th grade, if you haven't had early exposure to that, you're not going to be any faster than writing if you're hunting and pecking and looking for those keys. So as an OT, I really encourage equal keyboarding, equal handwriting skills at an early age. And even finding those keys on the keyboard is still something to be said because you're still doing visual discrimination, you're still doing fine motor, there's still a lot of really good uses in the keyboarding. I get a lot of parents that come in too and say, well, but I want them to write. I want them to write too. I want them to have a functional signature. I want them to know their information. What I don't want them doing in school is writing just kind of 2 to 3 sentences over and over that doesn't have a lot of meaning to them. I want it to be functional. So if they're going to practice writing something, you write that name, that date of birth, that address, that phone number, things that are going to mean something in that skill that they're going to have for later on. So that's my kind of big message there. So really focusing on keyboarding and typing as a functional alternative for written communication. The iPad is highly portable, so therefore it encourages inclusion. A lot of times if you say, well, they can get on a computer or a desktop, it's usually in the corner, away from the rest of the peers. An iPad, wherever we're going to go, that iPad can easily come with them. If they're in circle time, they can get down on the floor too. If they're in a stander, if they're in a wheelchair, if they're in a walker, that is a very portable piece of a device. So that's why I also highly recommend it. And I kind of alluded to this earlier, that there are those certain times that it can provide augmentative, written, and expressive communication. But that's a whole nother conference probably going on about AugCom. But just knowing that there are distinct differences. And then there's sometimes too that kids have trouble differentiating between this iPad is actually for productivity and schoolwork and not for YouTubing and Angry Birds and that kind of stuff. So we've even had families do 2 different colored iPads. The red case is for communication, the green one is for fun. So, trying to differentiate those 2 as well. The fact that you can do your books on here, so number 1, we've eliminated this heavy book load of transporting these big books back and forth or keeping an extra set of textbooks at home. So we've lightened the physical load. But secondly, we've offered a lot of times when you're reading on the iPad, you now have voiceover, you have text-to-speech, you can have your words highlighted, you can have the font different, you can have it more visually stimulating. All kinds of accessibility features are at your disposal as well. The biggest message, though, it encourages independence, therefore less dependence on scribes. I think a lot of times that's that 504 IEP accommodation is to have a scribe. I feel like, boy, if we could really put some kind of piece of technology in place, we could maybe eliminate that need, okay? So I think that's really important. The other thing, and I have to say this is one of my before I came to Children's for 12 years, I was a school-based therapist. I think this was my pet peeve then, it's kind of my pet peeve even more so now, is the shortened assignments. So, for example, the assignment is to write all 10 spelling words twice each night. And this is a very laborious task. Their handwriting is illegible or it takes too much effort, they fatigue too quickly. So a lot of times the solution is just have them do 5 of them. Okay, well that's sort of an accommodation, but they're losing out on that academic portion, that curriculum. Let them do all 10, let them write it, let them dictate it, let them find another way to do it so they're not losing out on that academics. Find a way that they can still get it done functionally, fast, productively, but don't let them lose out on that actual full benefit of the assignment. So as an OT, we're the handwriting specialists. We do handwriting with peers, we do cursive writing, that's our thing, okay? But I kind of feel like we need to expand that role, so now we're just the written communication specialist. So that means we need to put into place, whether it's writing, whether it's keyboarding, whether it's dictation, we want to make them functional. I think that's the broader and the bigger picture. So therefore, we're going to provide any equipment, support, intervention needed to get them to that point. All right, so this is the fun interactive stuff. So you guys, I saw all those hands that they have some kind of iDevice in their hands. So you can kind of follow along when I'm going through all this. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to tell you about these apps that are actually just built in. So they're things that come with your iPad, your calendar, your contacts, your camera, all that kind of stuff. And how we can use them in a way that will benefit. If you look at your calendar, and I'm going to kind of jump around here so you guys can see it here. Here's my calendar. I went ahead and I preset subjects to repeat every single day. So it's hard to see, but you have language arts, math, science. All right, so let's say today I'm sitting in language arts class, or no, math class, and I am going to just put that the teacher just said that we got to do worksheet 2. I'm going to type that in, and I'm going to save for this event only. I don't want to repeat this every day. I just want to know that I have to do worksheet 2 in math today. Okay? So now I go to class, and now I get to science, and I find out, oh, you know what our homework is tonight? I have to read chapter 4. And again, I'm just going to save for this event only. Okay? But when I get home, and mom and dad want to know what I did all day and what my homework is that night, if I click on that little magnifying glass up there in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to scroll down here to find the right date. But it's like my little to-do list. It's like my little checklist. This is the exact same thing as that little folder or assignment notebook that the kids have to do in class, but we just replaced it without having to handwrite it. We're going to type it. We've already preset the subject, so it's fast. It can be repeating. They can cut and paste it if they need to. But again, this is just a way of using the actual built-in calendar, and then it can have reminders and things like that too, but just a way of having them being able to use what's on here already. The other thing that you will notice is it says check face at 11:35. That's not a subject, but check face. I had a kiddo come in, and she's very high functioning. She was, I think, a sophomore in high school, independent. Mom was just worried because she said she just doesn't get that feedback when she eats. She gets a little messy, and I feel bad because I think she's with her peers, and I'm worried she's just not going to know. And boy, if I was just there to remind her. So we set a timer. Every day at 11:35, right after lunch, check your face. No one has to know. The little timer goes off. She reaches into her little pocket, takes out her little pocket mirror, checks her face, wipes it if she needs to, puts it back in, end of story. So, common sense stuff, but again, a way that you can use the iPad for that. Another reason is your contacts. I have no contacts, but I often say when we were back in St. Louis is make an entry, and you guys can do this for Dr. Jan as your contact, but in that medical information, put what medication she prescribes, put any pertinent information that is relevant. Number one, now you have a little file that you're always kind of thumbing through on, hey, what's the dosage, what's this? But more importantly, I feel like we need to empower our kiddos to see that information, so that they hear it, so that they see it during these visits, so that it's not brand new information. And our goal is eventually to get them on their own so that they know what they are on or taking. So just another thing, use that contact for that reason. The other one that's built in is the camera. And the camera is so great for so many reasons. But the camera is great because you can record exercises, okay? That PT showed me that exercise, and boy, if I could only remember the right way to do it, record it, all right? Or take a picture. I know how to put that splint on, but those supinator straps, they're supposed to cross, and I'm not really sure how they work. Take a picture of it, all right? This is how they look in the standard. This is how they look in the gait trainer. All of these great ways that you can just use what you have to record that. It can be good communication also between other providers. The other one is, these are not made for this reason, but Video Coach or Coach My Video, those are sports annotation apps. So the whole point of it is you're supposed to take a video of someone in their batting stance, and then you're supposed to take your finger and record, and you can say, oh, this is what you're supposed to do when the ball gets here. We use it for gait analysis or for range of motion exercises or home exercise programs. This is where you're supposed to stabilize. This is where you're supposed to reach up. This is how your muscle is supposed to move. So using things for not quite what they're meant for, but kind of tweaking it to help us out. The other thing that I want to show you guys is built-in features. So these are things that come on your iPad. So I think the latest version right now is 8.4.1. I think every couple weeks you always get a little notification that you need to update. iOS 8 has some great features, okay? So we're going to go through a few of these. And some of these you're like, I knew that, and you probably will. Some of these, I'm hoping that a few of these might be new to you. Something as simple as just creating folders and deleting folders. I'm just going to rip through this real quick. What I hope, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's those 4 little dots. That means I've got 4 screens, okay? We usually encourage when these kids use these for school, 1 screen or 2 screens. Condense it, because what we don't want them doing is just swiping the whole time, okay? If I've gotten to the end of my screen, if I just hit my home button, it's going to take me right back to the beginning. So if I did have 12 screens, at least I can get back to the home page pretty quickly. All right? When I want to move things, and I've got all my apps out here because I want to be able to show you, but I recommend having 1 folder that just says school. You put all the schools. That way we're not searching around this iPad for those apps. We're going to hold, we're just going to press on an app. And you guys probably already know this, but it wiggles. And then I'm going to move it, and I just put it right on top of each other, and it creates a folder. And that folder I can name whatever I want. So if I want to name it school, I name it school. When I want it to stop wiggling, I just press the home button, it stops. Okay? That's the same way as deleting an app. So I'm going to move this out. So if you haven't figured out, I'm a little picky on how I like my iPad to look. So. But when I want it to stop wiggling, I press the home button. Now, notice, there's a couple of those there that don't have X's. That's because they're built-in apps. You can't delete iTunes. That's the beauty of Apple, right? They'll never let you delete iTunes, because how else would they get your money? So those are just ways of creating folders, moving in and out. The other thing is if you double-click your home button, these are all your apps that are open. They are draining your battery. So swipe them up, okay? Swipe them up to close them. Because they're never truly closed unless you do this. And I'm probably the worst example because look at all these apps that are open. All right. One of the features that is really great on here, and you will want to know where your settings and we're going to do a lot of this. Settings, general, accessibility. Okay, so get in the habit. Those are your first 3 steps. Go into your settings here. Go into general, okay? While you're in general though, if you look down there where it says multitasking gestures, I recommend to turn that off, okay? And I'm going to show you. When you have it on, it means that you can, which is nice for us, move back and forth between apps. So if I put my hand on the screen, I can move back and forth. And you know what, I need to open another app so I can show you that. So here I am in this app, I can move back to the settings with my hand. The reason I say to take that off is a lot of times kids with motor control issues do this by accident. Suddenly they're in an app and then how'd they get into the mail? How'd they get into the camera? They probably did it on accident by doing that gesture. So if you turn that off, you've kind of eliminated the possibility of that. When you're in here, though, you're going to go into accessibility, and you're going to see there's all kinds of things here, okay? One of which is vision. So think about it. Voiceover. Voiceover is great because it's going to read the text-to-speech. But here's the deal. Voiceover is great for books. Not so great for just playing on your iPad because it's going to read everything. So it's going to read every control and it's going to drive you crazy. So I say proceed with caution. Put on voiceover, go to iBooks, okay? Otherwise, your alternative is what they call at the bottom, speech. And when you go into speech, you have two options, speak selection and speak screen, okay? Now, you can turn those on. You can even pick a fancy accent or dialect, that's under voices. And then you can choose how fast or slow you want it to go, and then if you want it to highlight the words, okay? So let me show you the difference between that. Now, if I go into my notes here, and this obviously was from a couple days ago, when I cut and paste, so I just kind of highlight, since I turned speak selection on, I now have the option to speak it.
Today is a rainy Wednesday. I wonder if the Cardinals will get rained out.
Okay? Well, that was pretty easy because it was a short little sentence. I just had to cut and paste it, okay? Speak selection is if I want the whole darn page read, okay? So in the instance of an email, or I don't want to have to sit and cut and paste, okay? So once I've enabled speak selection, I take my two fingers and I just swipe down.
Today is a rainy Wednesday. I wonder if the Cardinals will get rained out.
Okay. So now, why would that be useful? Okay, well, number one, if we're writing something and I need feedback on what it said, okay, or I just do better visually seeing something and hearing it at the same time, which I think is a lot of us and a lot of our kids. So it provides that visual and auditory feedback. If you go into your Safari and say a kiddo has to read an article and they have to do some research and they have to look it up on the web, this is the most distracting. There's like 20 different things going on right here. Okay, there's banner ads, there's all this kind of stuff. I just want to read about something positive, which I don't know where that's going to come from, so bear with me. I'm just going to pick all right, so now I picked something, right? This is my illustration. If you look at the upper left-hand corner, see those little lines right there? Right before the browser, that's called a reader, okay? When you get to that, hit that, because guess what happens? It takes all of that crazy distracting stuff and just extracts just the text and the picture, the main idea, what you want, okay? Now that you have that, guess what? Take your two fingers, swipe it, and it starts reading it out loud to you. Okay, so that's very helpful for a lot of our kids. One of the things I've also brought too is there is, Rupert and Jan like the Logitech headphones are really good also. So that's a good way. So if they're doing this work and don't want to disturb others or need to do that need headphones, that's a great set of headphones to use with this. So when you want to be done, you just stop it. You can stop reading it. But that's just a nice way to read online or read articles and get rid of some of that craziness that's going on. Something else that is nice when you're up here is, and you guys probably know this one, but when you're at the end of your browser, there's a little box with an arrow pointing up. If you hit that, that means you can add to home screen. And I don't want that title, so I'm just going to call it CNN. I'm going to add it. And it's added it right there. Now, it's not an app, it's just a bookmark, okay? So if I hit it, it's just gonna take me exactly to where I was, where I left off, or where I wanna be. And this is helpful because a lot of times kids have to get to a certain website at school, like they have to log in, they need to get to this page, but it might be very tedious to have to type all that in. So if we can maybe bookmark some things like this, that's helpful also, okay? The other thing too is if we just want to just search anything, if we swipe down from the, like you've got to be at kind of the middle of the screen here, or the upper half, you can just do a spotlight search and look, I'm trying to find my camera, I'm not sure where I put it. There it is, it takes me right to it. So that's just the easy search there. The other one is if I swipe up, that's my notification, or my control center, and that's just a quick way to get to volume control, Bluetooth, airplane mode, all that kind of stuff. You can get to your camera like that too. Okay? Back to settings, back to general, and back to accessibility. There's all kinds. We can invert colors. It won't show up on here, I don't think, on a projected screen. It doesn't, but it can be white on black versus black on white. You can change the size of the text, the button shapes. There's all kinds of things that you can play with on here. The big thing, though, is guided access. You guys know what guided access is? So guided access is basically we get to control what that kiddo does in that app. So we kind of lock them into an app, okay? So when I go to guided access, I'm going to turn it on, and it's going to ask me to set a 4-digit passcode, okay? Once it's set, it's a done deal. I can go into any app. So let's see which app I get to go into. I'm going to go into one of our favorites, Duck Duck Moose. All right, so now once I'm in this app, but this one doesn't work, let's try another one. Okay, so to have guided access comes, this is the trick you never hear of. You triple click the home button, and you have to do it kind of fast. And you pick guided access. All right, so this one's already started. This is how smart this device is. If you've used guided access before, you don't have to keep doing the settings over and over. As soon as you hit it and activate it, it remembers what you did. Okay, but I'm going to get out of it so I can show you. Oh, of course I didn't do it right. So now we have to count to 10. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you activate, or when you start guided access, okay? Once you started, all of your hardware buttons, so your on-off switch, your sleep mode switch, your home button, are gonna be unresponsive. The other thing that you can do is you can control what they can touch up there. So in that corner where it says more apps, if they hit that, it's gonna take them to the App Store. Yeah, that's not gonna be very productive. So you can take your finger and actually circle it, and gray that out and say, I don't want them to get to that, okay? The other thing is you can put a time limit. So if you set the time limit, let's say I'm gonna give you 10 minutes on this app, and then it's gonna be time to stop, okay? Once that 10 minutes is up, that screen, that 4-digit passcode that you set up is gonna come up, you're gonna have to enter that in. You don't have to be the bad guy. The iPad's the bad guy now, because guess what? Time is up and we're locked out, okay? So now, let's say I'm gonna start here. I'm trying to press that app thing, I can't get out, I can't do anything here. I can triple click though, and put the right passcode on. And when I hit end, it goes right back to where it was. So now if I hit more apps, now I'm going to, I can get out of the app, it works just like normal, okay? But a great little way that you can control what they're doing, okay? The other thing I wanted to show you that is when you are in settings in general, and if you scroll down where switch control is, switch control is very, very exciting because when the iPad first came out, there were probably maybe 15 to 20 switch accessible apps, and it would only work with a Bluetooth switch, which I'll show you guys those. So there's switch control though with iOS 8 now lets you navigate the entire iPad, okay? It used to be that the switch would only control the app that you were in, and that had to be a switch accessible app. Switch control, however, lets you use an external switch or even a movement, or you can kind of train it, or even a double tap or whatever you want to select to navigate the iPad, and it will auto scan, step scan. So what it'll look like, and I'm just not gonna, it's a little complex so it's hard to demo it, but what it will do is it will, like that first row of apps, in horizontal rows, it'll scan it, and then you hit the switch, and then it'll start to go across, and then it'll give you the option to open apps, close apps, but it's all done by a switch. And that's very exciting because you can navigate the iPad. Before, it was just, oh, guess what? You get to these 15 apps, and those are the only apps you can do with the switch. So that is very, very exciting, because now we've got kids controlling the music they want to get on. They can watch a YouTube video if they want. They can all do that normal kid stuff that preteens and teens are doing. So that's a very, very exciting development. I'll show you some of that stuff here shortly too. But back to your settings and your general. I'm going to move up just a little bit here. I'm going to go out of accessibility. Where it says restrictions. So some of the biggest resistance I get with trying to get the iPad in a kiddo's hands in school is it's not going to be productive. They're going to end up on YouTube. They're going to end up playing Angry Birds. There's no way they're going to focus, okay? And restrictions is probably the most underutilized feature of the iPad. You can pretty much take almost everything off that you don't want to have on here. So when you enable your restrictions, again, you put another passcode in. So the only one that can make the changes is the holder of the passcode. But you can take off Safari. You can take the camera off. You can take FaceTime or Siri. You can do all kinds of stuff. Most important, you can take off installation or deletion of apps, which I always say, like, I hear parents come in, we put those apps on and now they're just gone. I don't know what they did. They moved them into a folder. They disappeared. That would solve it. It'll also solve any in-app purchases. I hear those stories all the time. Oh, that Smurf game is free, but then they bought like $100 worth of coins, and I don't know how that happened. Take that off. Take that off so that's not even an option, okay? This is also where you control the content. So if you want certain websites to not come up, certain types of music, you can do the ratings. You can do all that in here. This, again, like I said, underutilized. You can strip this iPad down and use it for just the reasons you want, especially at school. Okay? One example I can give, back in St. Louis, we did, with the hydrocephalus team in the neuropsychology department, we actually did an iPad study, and we were giving kids iPads for 6 weeks at a time, which makes me nervous. Here's an iPad, but they were supposed to do 12 apps for like an hour a day to work on visual perceptual skills, and those apps are the only thing we wanted them to get on. We didn't want to chance them getting on and loading all kinds of different things on it. So we stripped it down to the point that they only had those 12 apps, and they didn't like that iPad nearly as much as other iPads that are out there, but that is just to show you the control that you can have. So I feel like for school purposes, I feel this is kind of how you sell it. So we can solve some of those problems. All right, so let's see if we've hit all the big. I'm gonna go back here and stay on track here. Those are just some of the built-in things. We did the screen reader, okay. Now, all right, so when you think, and I've kind of obviously picked my favorite apps, but I want you to think when you get an app that it works kind of as an island, and this sounds kind of silly, but your camera works up the app because your camera takes a picture of the worksheet, and then you use this iAnnotate to do the worksheet, but then you use your email to get it off. It's like this whole flow of numerous apps you've used to get the finished product. Same thing, like if you did a little doodle drawing and you made this cute little picture, but you dropped it in your camera roll, and then you can use that to journal and then later email as a PDF. So kind of my big message when you pick an app is, can you get it off the iPad? Because I think that, as far as productivity, we don't want a teacher walking around to check an iPad. We want to be able to get it off, print it, export it, all that kind of good stuff. All right, we're going to come back to this. So if I had to pick an iTunes gift card, or let's say you get an iTunes gift card, these are what I recommend to spend it on, okay? So you guys have all of this in your packet. It's kind of spread out. We're going to kind of jump around, but you have a good portion of it. You also have my email, which you can use and not be a stranger. But I want to just go over some of these that are really good and have made a difference. SnapType is the first one. And SnapType is either free or, gosh, you could upgrade for $3.99. The beauty of this is it's made by an OT, which right then and there you gotta love, right? So it's very, very simple to use, okay? This is what it looks like. It's this little orange one called SnapType over there. And SnapType, what you're gonna do is you're gonna use it to you're gonna take a picture and you're gonna start getting your work done and then you're gonna email it to your teacher. So, you're gonna select New Document and you're gonna pick your camera and right away it's gonna default to your camera, okay? I already kind of skipped ahead and took a picture. So this is what it looks like, all right? It's just this worksheet. Number one, I can blow it up. Which is nice because sometimes that whole page is just too distracting. Maybe I need to just focus on the top portion first, okay? But I have to figure this math problem out. Let's see if I can do it. And I need to put my answer. So I'm just gonna say, I went right on that line. I'm just gonna put my finger right there. I'm gonna put the number 6. That 6 is kind of big. So what I'm gonna do is that little circle up at the top, I'm just gonna move it to the left and I can even shrink it down if I want to. I can control the size. All right, now I'm gonna go over here, and I think the answer is D, so I'm gonna put my finger right on that little circle, and I'm gonna put an X right there. All right, I'm doing the whole worksheet with my finger. I'm not having to handwrite. I'm not having to worry about staying on the lines. I'm not doing any of that, okay? The bigger piece is that I got started on this at the same time the rest of the class did. I didn't have to wait for a teacher to scan it. I didn't have to wait for it to be emailed. This is immediate. Okay? When I'm done with it, I go up to that little box with the arrow on top in the right-hand corner, and I pick PDF. All right? So look, I could print it, which that would be great, because maybe I need something tangible, or I want to have something hung up on the board, but I can also be pretty green about it, and I can email it as a PDF back to the teacher. She can check it, record my grade, it's a done deal. Okay? Now, SnapType is very basic. I mean, that's pretty much all we had a choice. We just went in. So I feel like for the younger users, this is great because it gets them in the mode of how to do these kind of things on the iPad. Very, very simple. The other ones on here, let me see where you're at here. If you go to classroom apps, this is kind of the checklist. So I just did SnapType. But if you go to the top, it says Jot Not Scanner Pro and I Annotate. These are 2 apps, and you're going to say, well, they're a little bit more expensive. And actually, they've gone up since I last said. Jot Not Scanner Pro is maybe $4.99, and I Annotate is $9.99. So you're thinking, well, why would I pay $15 more for the same thing? I'll show you. So they will accomplish the same thing that SnapType did, but it's going to be much more extensive. You're going to have much more annotation tools. It's going to be more complex to use, but you're going to have a lot more options, okay? So Jot Not Pro is that little scanner down there. So down at the bottom it says scan. As soon as I hit that, it defaults to my camera because I get to take a picture of a worksheet, which I cheated and already did. So here it is. So now I'm going to take that little box in the bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to choose Open In. Okay? These are all my choices of what I could open a PDF in, because that's essentially what I did. I took a picture of a worksheet, turned it into a PDF, and now I'm going to open it in I Annotate. Okay? I Annotate is a fabulous app, okay? Professionals use it to read articles. You can use it as a study guide to take notes on. It's a fabulous, fabulous app. Again, here's that worksheet I took a picture back in Jot Not. I can blow it up. Okay, so again, but if you see over on the right-hand side, there's all these little colored different markers there. Okay, those are toolbars that I made up. I have a lot of toolbars that I made up. I'm just gonna pick this one here. I'm gonna select, at the very top, there's a little pencil with a red there. And now I'm gonna start circling my work. I'm gonna do it with my finger, okay? But now I have to write the word in there. So I'm gonna find on my toolbar the little T, which means typewriter or text. I'm gonna hit that. And I'm gonna type my answer in. Okay? Now, the best thing about the iPad, if you have the iPad 3 or higher as far as generation, it comes with built-in dictation. So anytime you're connected to Wi-Fi, you have the ability to dictate. So for example, if I go back and say I do the next one, and I pick that little T for typewriter there, and I put my text box, my keyboard just came up and that little microphone in the bottom is live and ready to go because I'm connected to Wi-Fi. Lamb. Oh, I have to speak into it. Lamb. I get a do-over on that one. That took me. I'm going to delete it, try it again here. Lamb. I think the microphone is off, so that's clearly why it's ignored. It's pretty accurate though, other than what you guys just saw. But yeah, of course it's not here. But that's another beauty, is they can even dictate and get this worksheet done. So that's really great. The other thing that it can do is custom stamps. So if you see here on that row, there it says Nicole right there, I made a custom stamp with my name. So when I click that, oops, I can put my finger anywhere and that stamp is going to appear. Okay, so think of the possibilities that we could do. We could do vocabulary matching with that. We can do a first and last name. We can do all kinds of things, but we've eliminated that motor control, that fatigue issue that we deal with handwriting. The other thing is, so maybe, I did that real easily. I circled my answers in red there, but maybe that's difficult. Maybe we don't have the distal control to do that. So there's a stamp. And this is not a custom stamp, this is a stamp that is included in here. You see the little chess piece with the little red there? So I click that, and I put it right on my answer, okay? So think about those Scantrons that create a lot of trouble, that you gotta fill in the bubble, and then you have to look at the test packet, and then you have to look back. This is a way that this can get done to eliminate a lot of that visual focus, of that near and far point issues, that fine motor control issues. We can just circle our answers like that. Okay? The possibilities that this thing can do is really endless. There are so many, I say for some kids, like if there's a PowerPoint presentation or that's in the class, have the teacher email them, open it up and I annotate, then they can take notes on it and use this as a study guide and go off of. One of the other little toolbars you'll see here is, it looks like a little cartoon like asterisk, so like say if there's not enough space to write their answer in there, they can put, this is important. So now they know to go back, like it's kind of like cliff notes that they can do, okay? So now, when I'm done with this, I'm gonna go back to one of my toolbars here. I have the option to print it, but again, I have the option to email it and share it. Always pick the flattened version. The flattened version will include your annotations. And again, it attaches a PDF, it goes right back to the teacher. Great way to get it off. In your handout here, you have one that says JotNot Scanner Pro /IN. These are the step-by-step directions. So share this, use this, give it to your teachers, give it whoever. The other piece I say is, because I know a lot of times this is something new, and it's not that staff aren't willing or want to, but maybe they're just not able to. They don't have the resources. It's something new. They have 25 other kids. They don't know what to do. I always say, try to do, if you have the iPad and you have access to this stuff, do this at home for homework. Get your kiddos savvy, go through the steps. It sells much better when you want to present it to school, because suddenly, oh wow, they got their homework done and it only took them how long? Look how good, look, they did this independently. Let them take it from there at home. Then it kind of gets bought into at school, well, we should have him do all of his work like that. Why don't we have him do that in the classroom? So it's a good way to kind of meet in the middle and make that transition to get this stuff in school. All right, okay, I gotta go faster. Okay, next one is CoWriter. That is down on the bottom left. CoWriter to me would be the alternative to Microsoft Word or Pages. CoWriter is made by Don Johnson, which is a very reputable assistive technology company. They, for the years, had programs in schools. Now they have an app, because there's an app for everything at this point. So, but what you're going to do is, let's say you're going to do a new document. It has word prediction, so as I'm typing, words are populating. It also has text-to-speech, okay? So you can select it, and when you go up to your settings here, you can have it read every letter, which might be kind of tedious, but you can have it read every word, every sentence. You can do contrast, you can make your font larger or lighter, but it gives you the accessibility features of having text-to-speech plus word prediction. Now, when you go to your little book up there, it also gives you the option to change the level of user. So if you have a beginner user, you don't want a ton of words in their word bank, okay? So you can either go down to the very basic and core ones, or you can set it up to, I want a very advanced dictionary, okay? The topic dictionaries are very exciting. So if you see William Shakespeare is there. If I turned on my William Shakespeare topic dictionary, then when I would start to type, let's say the letters R-O, Romeo would be a word that would populate in my word bank, which is great because it has to do with that topic. Now, are you only going to write on these 6 topics? Probably not. So that little search bar at the top, it does what is called a web scrape dictionary. You can put a topic in there, it goes out to the web, finds words that are related to that topic, and dumps it into your word bank, okay? It's pretty cool, so yes. So therefore, you can kind of tell, so this is a great app for those growing, kind of the middle school level and higher, that we're trying to get them ready into the research end of it. So it is a very, very great app. Now, once I'm done with this, again, your app is only so good as so you can get it off your iPad. So again, that little arrow with the box there. All right, so I can mail it. It will not mail as a PDF though. It's going to be in the body of your email. Not really what I want, okay? I can tweet it, which I guess is important, okay? But this is what I like, because so many schools are going this direction. I can put it in Google Drive, or I can put it in Dropbox, so I can get it off that way. I can also print it if I needed to. So a really great app for word processing, okay? The next one is MyFam, down at the bottom there. So I showed you iAnnotate and how exciting it was that you could do it. You could do an app or a worksheet and do that. But the only thing with doing math worksheets on iAnnotate is it goes left to right. How the heck do you do math problems left to right? ModMath is so close to being the answer, but not quite. It is free, which is great, but it's a great organizer. If you think of it as kind of a virtual graph paper, because think about it, you do those long division or you do that long subtraction or addition, suddenly we're not sure what numbers line up. The student doesn't even know what numbers they're supposed to add or subtract at this point. Legibility is a factor. ModMath, you just take your finger right where you want to put your, and you input your numbers, okay? Now, I don't know if you can see it well, but there's that little blue box. It is advancing left to right, but you can override that. You can put your answer right where you want it to go. Now, it doesn't solve it for you. It doesn't give you the sequence. It doesn't do any of that, but at least for visual and for organization, it's a helpful app, okay? When you're done with it, you can also email it. It will attach as, guess what, a PDF, okay? So a great one for math worksheets, okay? The other one is My Memoir, where to go? So it's, see where iTunes is, My Memoir's over there. So one of the things that kids tend to do in elementary school, they have to journal. It's usually like their morning work. They have to draw a picture, and then they have to, in their assignment notebook, have to write a few sentences, and that's their morning work. Which can be very frustrating if this is starting your day off and we're already doing a task that is really difficult. So My Memoir is basically a journaling app. It's $1.99. And you pick, I'm going to go into here. Today's the 22nd. I'm going to create a new entry. All right, so if I'm struggling with writing, chances are I might not be the best artist either, okay? So maybe even drawing a picture kind of stresses me out. Well, I can just go into my camera roll, and I can say, well, I just want to write about my dog, okay? I'm going to use that photo. And then I'm going to start typing, okay? So now I've kind of eliminated the need to draw a picture, but I also can type, or I can dictate because I'm connected to Wi-Fi, I have an iPad 3 or a mini or whatever, so now I can do my journal entry this way, okay? When I want to share it, up in the corner, left-hand corner, we see another, that's the big thing, look for that box with the arrow. I am going to, I'm going to share it as a PDF. So now I can share it and get it off it. So my teacher doesn't have to walk around to my iPad to check my journal notebook, because I'm just going to email it to her or I'm going to print it. Okay? All right. So I have 9 long minutes. And I have to find 8.5. It's like we're back at work. Okay. All right, so Snap Type we went through, .NET, CoWriter, Math, My Memoir. Audio Note is a great one for recording lectures, okay? You can record it and it will timestamp. You can take notes while you're listening to the lecture. You can play it back. My best recommendation for Audio Note is YouTube it, because you will get live videos on how you see that it works and how you should use it to the best of the abilities. Great, great app, especially for college students. Some of the functional apps, you guys have a list of that. For AuCom verbally is all text-based. Answers yes, no, and is just a yes, no, or it can also be used to make 2 choices, so that's a good one. Sounding board, completely free. You use your own pictures, you record your own voice. You can do 1 icon up to 9. It's a great, I always say, even have it on your phone as a parent, because when you're at that restaurant and it's really noisy and you don't even have their big AuCom devices, at least you can make a nice choice using that. It's a quick reference to that. Sono Flex Lite is your more traditional, but again, these are, I tried to pick ones that are either free or like next to nothing, so that you can at least try them, okay? For times that your kiddo is in surgery, I know Dr. McIntosh talked about that, but aphasia apps, small talk apps are really good because they help with pain scale, like for communication, if they've got a trach in and you need to know, do they need to go to the bathroom, are they hurting? It's a good quick reference to get that communication out. Great for fine motor communication, Dexteria Junior, visual perceptions, little things, doodle find, letter reflex, those are also some good ones. One big thing that came up with iOS 8 is what they call third-party keyboards. So basically it's an app within an app, which is unheard of because Apple, that's like against their religion. But what they can do is let's say I'm in my notes, if you go to iTunes and you find a third-party app, you download it, and then you'll go into your settings in general and keyboard, and you'll add a keyboard, and it'll give you a list, and you'll find it, and you'll add it. But what it does is, so that little globe down there, which we all know is the emojis, right? Which that's where it is. If you hit it again, oops. This is one of the Dodo, is a third party, this is the makers of Proloquo to Go, but this is a different type of keyboard. If I hit it again, oops. This is another keyboard. So it's the ability to use custom or different keyboards within any app that you want to use. So it's pretty exciting because it's like, again, an app within an app. Finally, the last things I want to show you guys is all my accessories over here. Email. So I do a constant contact newsletter. I try to get it out once a month. It usually is more like once a quarter, but I try to send it out to families, professionals, with information on if these apps are free, or if they're next to nothing, or they're just really good apps that I think, if you would like to be included on that list, shoot me an email and I will add you to it. So it's just a nice way to get the message out. I have to show this slide. This is for Jan and Ruben, because they wanted to say thanks. And it's not the whole team, but it's a good portion that wanted to say hi who can't be here. So one thing that we did start at Children's is what they call an iPad lab. And I use that term very loosely because here it is. So it's not much of a lab, it's a mobile lab, which will get you hung up in security at the airport. But so all these things over here are in my little bag of tricks for my iPad lab. But basically, you know, when I'm in clinic, we get to see these kids for 15, 30 minutes, and I can't possibly give them all this then. So what we've done is we set it up to where they can come and see me for an OT visit, but it's just on the iPad. So it might look at productivity, but it might also look at accessibility. So some of the things that I have here is like, maybe we need to try a key guard, maybe we need to try a switch, maybe we need to try a different case, all kinds of things like that. This is probably the highest tech thing I have in that.
This is just a little stretch glove. It's like you probably have a few of these laying around that don't have a friend or a match. Cutting out the finger so that it hides most of their hand, so that the part that they actually want to try to press gets connected. So it's a very quick, easy way of eliminating some mishits or some inaccurate things. So that's good. Here's another case. This is the new Trent Airbender, but it's very durable for school. I mean, we just open up. They can still use the touchscreen or they can use a keyboard. I do recommend for the productivity piece of it is use a Bluetooth keyboard versus the on-screen keyboard. We all like that better. Our kids with fine motor issues, they're going to do better with this. The other option is if they have an adaptive keyboard that they use already, this little trick is the iPad connection kit. It's like $29. I think you can get it at Walmart or Best Buy or the App Store. So what it's made to is when you put it into the iPad, you put your SD card on, and then all your photos go onto the iPad. But the other one is a USB port. Okay, so you can take an adaptive keyboard like the Big Keys keyboard, and you can put it in there, and you can use that keyboard to activate your iPad or type on it. Now, you will get a little message that says this device is not supported, like don't go on, and you just say okay, and you just go on. Yes. Lots of different cases, like for kids that are using Odd-Com device, this is by Big Grips. I think you guys have seen it. It's a big, like, kind of croc shoe material case. But this is if they're ambulatory and they need to get to their iPad very quickly, but we want to keep it close, they can use this for portability. There's also these chat bags. It's the same thing. You can get them embroidered and fancy. If it's like your Bradley patterns or whatever. But these are just another way to be able to keep it iPad with you at all times. Would be able to have access to the screen. Told you guys about the headphones. Lots of mounts out there. Modular hose, and I don't get endorsed by them either, but modular hose mount would be my favorite out of all of them. If you go to modularhose.com, you can take a look at it. But it is a clamp system. So it's going to come up here. Pretty reasonable too in the world of mounts, I would say, but it's a clamp system, so it can go anywhere. It can go on the table that they're sitting at. It can clamp onto their wheelchair, to their kick cart. It can go onto the stander. So lots of different options. Very, very versatile. Other mounts that are out there, like RJ Cooper makes one. These are the more traditional mounts, which are a little harder to get on and off. Other things like your phone in like a leg mount, then when they're in the wheelchair, it straps across just to keep it steady. There's also one for the iPad. Switches, so Bluetooth wireless switches. Basically, you know how to pair a Bluetooth speaker, it's the same concept. You go into settings or settings and then Bluetooth, and then you pair it with the switch, you'll find it. But again, this will allow you to do auto scanning, step scanning. You can use your own switch if you have a switch interface. So this would be the Bluetooth interface that you can use with maybe a Memoir switch or a proximity switch or something else that works. So lots of different options as far as accessibility. Styluses are also good.
So what's the top 3 things you want them to know as a take-home message?
Take-home message is, well, use the accessibility features. Settings, general accessibility. That is your friend. Also, your app is only as good as you can get it off of the iPad. And then finally is, I'm not saying abandoning writing, but I'm just saying I abandon writing on a lot of days. This is the direction we're going. Keyboarding, we're not shortcutting anything. We're not cheating. And I feel like that I kind of am up against that. Even other therapists or even teachers is put something in their hands that is going to